Hello, 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 and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update news show. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. We got that Boxing Day win, which was very important. We're up to, where are we in the league? Because I know Liverpool won. Man United are 6th in the league, which isn't too bad, equal on points with Chelsea. Sunderland could go above us today, but Sunderland are very thin with AFCON, so I actually think Leeds could get a result today. So things are definitely looking more positive considering how thin the squad is. We've got the January window open and we've got some news on Elliot Anderson to talk about. We've got some news on Carlos Baleba to talk about. Romano basically confirming Baleba would pick Man United over many, many clubs. But Elliot Anderson, a surprise green light there from the player. Could January get interesting with Baleba? Could United be about to beat Manchester City for Elliot Anderson? What is the latest on Ruben Neves and Amorim's new tactical changes and more? So I hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to grab a sip of water because my mouth is so dry right now, and then we're going to get into it. I left my water over here, so got that now. My mouth is just so dry this morning. Do you reckon Heaven could make the World Cup squad, says Baller? Do you know what? You never know. If he plays every game from now to the end of the season, probably could. I don't think he'd play, but I think he could. I think it'll be Konza and Gay easily, but Colwell's injured. Stones doesn't even play. Dan Burns injured. So, I mean, who else would it be? Gomez, Kwanzaa? No, they're not good enough. Gomez is injured. Burns injured. Like, it could be Maguire or Heaven. The thing is, if Maguire's back, he might take Heaven's place. But yeah, let's talk about all of this. Let's talk about the news and more. But let's start with a positive. Oh, wrong thing has been shared. Ruben Amorim's Man United 29 points. Enzo Maresca's Chelsea 29 points. Look, I don't think we've been very good this season because I can use my eyes. The Newcastle performance wasn't great. But we're on 29 points, which isn't that bad. But it's also like everyone else has been pretty crap this season. Do you know what I mean? But we're in 6th. We're on 29 points. It's annoying because I think had we beaten West Ham at home, who look atrocious, that's 2 more points. Had we beaten Bournemouth at home, that look absolutely atrocious and got battered by Brentford, that's 2 more points. I look at it and I think we should be on 33 points. We should have beaten West Ham or we should have beaten Bournemouth at home because those teams are atrocious. And if we're on 33 points right now, we'd be in 4th, which would be a very good position to be in. We're very hit and miss, but Chelsea are very hit and miss. Tottenham aren't there this season. Newcastle aren't there this season. The top 4, I think, will be City, Arsenal, Villa, and then it'll be, I think, Liverpool or Chelsea will fancy themselves for 4th. But that 5th spot could get UCL football. And Chelsea might drop out of the UCL. Liverpool might drop out of the UCL. I think we need to push for that 5th spot. And I think if we invest in January, there's an opportunity to do it. Because Sunderland realistically are going to drop off. Palace are dropping off like a cliff. Newcastle are just not there. Tottenham are not there. The top 5 is Chelsea, Liverpool, Villa, City, Arsenal. It's Man United and 6th competing with Sunderland, Brentford and Palace for 6th place. 6th place is Europa League, but I'm looking at that right now and saying, let's push those top 5. Because Chelsea are very inconsistent. Do you know where Chelsea have gone wrong? Someone said stop comparing us with Chelsea. But I'm just saying, do you know where Chelsea have gone wrong? And I am going to compare us with Chelsea. They got Gittins and Garnacho as their wingers. They got Gittins and Garnacho as their wingers in the summer. What did we get? We got Mbeumo and Cunha. The difference between Mbeumo and Cunha and Gittins and Garnacho is a huge difference. Instead of going for youngsters, instead of spending 50, 60 million on young, raw players, Man United this summer went and got proven Mbeumo, proven Cunha. And I look at Chelsea, who aren't scoring as many goals at the moment. That is the difference between us and Chelsea. I think we had a much better summer than them. They've got Enzo and Casado, but Enzo isn't even that good. People tell me Enzo Fernandez is better than Bruno Fernandes. Like, go to Specsavers. But we're equal on points with Chelsea. Now, Chelsea haven't been great. We haven't been great this season. But I think considering where we were last season and the fact that Chelsea won the Club World Cup, for us to be equal on points with Chelsea, I think that's relatively positive. However, Bruno is injured. Maino is injured. Mount could be injured. We scraped past Newcastle. I think we should beat Wolves. They've got Andre out, but you don't know. You don't know with this Man United side. That's why I think we need to invest in the January window. I think we've got an opportunity to do something. I think if we can get a good midfielder in the January window, we've got an opportunity to do something and get back on track. Because we need European football. That's going to help us get Elliot Anderson. That's going to help us have more funds to spend. Do you know what I mean? So I want to talk about Elliot Anderson. I want to talk about Baleba. But I'm just saying the board needs to back Cameron in midfield. And we can get a midfielder, we go for a top 5 push. So important. I go Anderson over Baleba. He looks more solid and consistent. I agree. Anderson over Baleba any day. Right now, I like Baleba. He had a good game for Cameroon, but yeah, if I'm Man United, I go. We had 65 million to spend on Semenyo in January. What's another 10 million to that and go for a midfielder? Let's see. Conceded nearly 30 goals and it's December. Awful. 2 clean sheets and it's December. Only won back-to-back games once in a year. I know. But the Premier League, I think this is our best opportunity to get European football. We aren't great, yeah? But we've got Wolves next, yeah? And then we've got the January window open to get some players in. The Premier League is so shaky right now. A lot of the big teams aren't performing. So while we haven't been great, or while we haven't played amazing football, or while we haven't been the most convincing this season, this is our best opportunity to maybe sneak back into Europe. And even if we're not ready for the Champions League, if you get the Champions League, you get the funds, and you get the pool to bring in the players in the summer, which could make the rebuild go quicker. The next 3 games, as Baller said, is winnable. We have 3 games in a row that I actually expect us to win, which is Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley. Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley. I want 9 out of 9 points. I don't care what the absence is. I don't care about the absences. I want 9 out of 9 points versus Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley. Because we have City and Arsenal after that, and we're going to drop points, let's be honest. So I want 9 out of 9 points to Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley, our next 3 games. Our next 3 games are very, very winnable. The rest of the Premier League is not performing. Chelsea's not performing. Newcastle's not performing. Tottenham's not performing. This is why I'm going on and on about it, but I genuinely believe this is our best chance to potentially get European football because of how bad everyone else is. And I know Leeds have been decent lately, but yeah, I think this is a really good chance. The problem is the ownership. They don't give a crap. They don't give a crap. But we've got some positive news coming in, and we're going to talk about the January window and why January could get interesting with our position in the league, and I think how poor other clubs are. I think January could potentially be quite interesting if we do the right business. But let's talk about Baleba, because Baleba wants Manchester United move. Despite rumours, Bayern Munich are not working on a deal to sign Baleba as of today. They feel the player wants to go to Manchester United. Romano has said many times the feeling is Baleba would pick Manchester United. Manchester United are confident that Baleba wants them over other clubs, and other clubs have a feeling that Baleba will pick Manchester United. That has kind of been said. You know, there's this internal feeling that, you know, Baleba has his head on United. The problem is Baleba's been crap this season. Maybe he hates Brighton because he's just gone out a really good game for Cameroon. So maybe it's Brighton he hates, although he was playing Mozambique. He plays Ivory Coast today, which is Ahmad's team, at 8 o'clock, by the way. But he's had a very good game at AFCON. But I like Baleba. Baleba is who I wanted in the summer. Baleba was perfect for the system. But some things have got in Baleba's head, and he's been crap this season for Brighton. I'm a bit worried. You know, Baleba right now, if you can get him for 60 million, I'd take him. But if Brighton want 100 million for Baleba, I'd say absolutely not. I'm not taking that risk with how bad he's been this season. So that's how I feel on Baleba. He wants us. He's probably going to pick us. But right now, I'm taking Elliot Anderson over Baleba. And I'm going to get to the Elliot Anderson news in a second. But I just saw this comment. Alice, why aren't you that critical of Sesko? The reason I'm not critical of Sesko is that I like to give new signings, particularly young signings, time to adapt. You know, I think that he's had injury issues. I think that it's very early on. I thought in the Brentford game he was very good and showed good signs. I think that he's not worse than Højlund. Højlund might be doing some good goals in Serie A, but Sesko's performances for us have been not as bad as Højlund's performances for us last season. Like, I would like to see more from Sesko, but at least he can hold up the ball and pass it, whereas Højlund couldn't do that. I want to see more goals from Sesko, but he's what, 2 goals, 2 assists so far for us so far? Yeah, it's not amazing, but he's been injured, he's very young, he's very raw. I've seen some signs. I need to see more, I want to see more. But I've seen signs, and I think because Sesko's so young, because it's a new league, because it's a new environment, because it's And it's a very, no matter who plays striker for Man United, they seem to struggle because he's so young. I'm not going to be too critical because he's been better than Delap and he's been better than Gyökeres. So, and I think there's a player there. I think next season I'll be more critical of Sesko. I've decided with Højlund's first season, I was very nice. Second season, I was critical. Sesko's first season, very nice. So if he's poor in the second season, I'll be critical. But I like to give new signings a year before I go critical, to be honest. So that's why I kind of lay off Sesko. Also, everyone said he has to score that chance he had versus Aston Villa. No. That was an unbelievable save by Emi Martinez. That wasn't Sesko has to score that. It was a good save. But yes, going back to midfield, Baleba wants United, but it's risky. Now, we all know that Elliot Anderson is the guy. He is the guy right now. He's probably the best option we can get. The worry is that Elliot Anderson is going to pick Manchester City. Elliot Anderson has his mind on City. He's City's #1 target. He's followed City on Instagram. There's now reports coming out that Elliot Anderson would welcome a move to Man United, and Elliot Anderson has given the green light to Man United that he's open to a move. Ooh. We also know from Sean Connolly that Elliot Anderson would welcome a move to United. Elliot Anderson apparently has given United a bit of a green light, an indication that he would welcome a move. The problem is if Man United and Man City both want him, he might choose Man City over us. But Elliot Anderson has pretty much informed United he would welcome a move to the club. He's open to the club. We know Baleba would pick us. We know that Baleba wants us. But Elliot Anderson apparently would welcome a move to Man United. The question is, would he pick City over us? I don't know. But that's quite positive there in the sense of Elliot Anderson surprisingly would welcome a move to Man United, despite this feeling that he is going to go to City. Baleba just says he wants United and has pretty much picked Manchester United. And this is where I think January could get interesting. This is where I think January could get really, really interesting. I don't think you're going to get near Elliot Anderson in January. I also think with Elliot Anderson welcoming a move to Man United, is it an agent thing? So Man City have to up their wage offer in the summer. Say he's picking between Man United and Man City, and if you pick between the two, Man City will then throw more wages at him to get him to pick them because Man City really want him. You never know. We could be getting played by Elliot Anderson here. Elliot Anderson is not going anywhere in the January window. I could tell you that for a fact. Carlos Baleba, on the other hand, that could get interesting. Romano has said that United have not stopped discussing the name Baleba. We've not stopped talks with Baleba because we still want him. Baleba could get very interesting in January. There's a feeling that Brighton won't sell in January, but he's been poor for Brighton. United have got 65 million. Brighton aren't happy with where they are right now. They know Baleba's head isn't there. They're not happy with Baleba. They've been dropping him. Man United desperately want a midfielder. Baleba's in the long-term plans. Man United are willing to spend if they can get a player in the long-term plans. I think if United went and said, and put 65 million down for Baleba, Brighton would reject that bid. Brighton would reject that bid. Brighton want 100 million for Baleba. They're not going to get 100 million for Baleba because he's been crap this season. But you go and put 65 million bid down for Baleba, that might get Brighton thinking. Then you say, okay, 70 million. If they don't accept 70 million, you walk away. And you walk away. And if he's crap from January to summer, they'll regret that. They'll regret that big time. They knew that they could have got about 80, 90 million for Baleba in the summer. They now know because Baleba's been crap, nobody's going to bid more than 70 million. So Brighton are going to pretend that they do not want to sell Baleba to see if they can get Man United to overbid for Baleba. But I think you put 70 million down for Baleba, and I think Brighton are having a serious think. I think if you do 65 million, wait a bit, 70 million, walk away, I think Brighton will have a big think about that. I think they'll have a big, big think about that, of how it's been this season. And I think, for me, 70 million seems a lot. It seems a lot for a player that's dropped off massively. It's a huge risk. But I think potentially it could get you Baleba in January. I think it could potentially get you Baleba in January. I think January could get interesting. I want to talk about the Ruben Neves news. Romano said on Ruben Neves links to Man United. There's no news on Ruben Neves in terms of bids, in terms of negotiations, or in terms of talks, but what I'm told is Man United were in touch with the agents of Neves, basically. I think Neves is being watched. I don't know if we're going to go for Neves. I don't know if we're going to make a move for Neves. But I think with Bruno being injured, with Maino being injured, with the midfield being thin, I think United are looking at Neves and saying, maybe he's not exactly who we want. He's not a long-term target, but it could be a good option for depth. He's very good for Al Hilal in the Club World Cup. He's been very good for Portugal. So even though he's been in Saudi for 2 years, he's still proven he's at somewhat of a good level. It's a bit of a risk, but the player wants the move. I think United are looking to see who's available in the January window. And if it gets to mid-January and there's nobody that they think is like, boom, that's available, they may just say, we'll go for Neves for depth, which is not what Amorim wants, a depth player, but Neves is Portuguese. Amorim's going to want Neves, he's Portuguese. Amorim said he only wants long-term targets, but if it's a short-term Portuguese target, I feel like Amorim will probably want him. A lot of people say no more than 60 million for Baleba. With Baleba's form right now, I don't want us to spend more than 60 million, but I think in January, you have to put that extra 10 million down, and that's why I say 70 million. We could get Stiller for 53 million. I think Stiller is a fantastic player, but there's concerns if you will do it in the physicality of the Premier League. Also, Stiller is more of a Bruno alternative than a Casemiro alternative. And I think Bruno is injured and Mino is injured, but I think people are looking more for the physical. So I think Man United are looking more for the long-term Casemiro replacement first. Baleba's been on fraud watch this season, will be a total waste of money. Some people don't want us to go for Baleba. I mean, I'm open for Baleba. I'd still want Baleba because I think he was so good last season that there is a good player there. He's just fallen off a cliff lately. But I wouldn't want us to break the bank for Baleba. I don't want us to spend more than 60 million on him. You know, Elliot Anderson's going to be 80 million, apparently, in the summer. Then I don't think Baleba should be more than 60 million. Apparently, Real Madrid rejected Ruben Neves. Apparently, Ruben Neves offered himself to Real Madrid and they rejected him. Is a report coming out and about. But Man United haven't rejected Ruben Neves yet. They have been looking at it. Now, I want to talk about Manchester United. I want to talk about this formation change and how it could affect our transfer plans, this whole formation change. So, let's talk about Ruben Amorim's formation change against Newcastle. Andy Mitten said this: I think there's been a softening in his hardline stance. We said this for months. He will change the formation on his terms, and what are his terms? He has been forced into it because of injuries. Also, from within the club, there's a feeling he will change the formation. He is the coach, and there are other decision makers. We know for about 2 months that Jason Wilcox has been pushing Ruben Amorim to move to a back four because he feels a back four gets the best out of the players in the squad. We know that Ruben Amorim has been very stubborn, but the first half versus Bournemouth, we played a back four. The first half versus Bournemouth was our best performance of the season. We played a back four. We then come out in the second half versus Bournemouth, go to a back five. Then in our back five, we concede 2 goals within 10 minutes. So he brings Maino on and we go back to a back four. And then when we go back to a back four, we score 2 goals. We would play an amazing back four versus Bournemouth. We went to a back five, we were crap. We went to a back four, we saved ourselves, and then we sat off. So the back four clearly was 10 times better than the back five versus Bournemouth. Let's look at the Newcastle game. The first half versus Newcastle, we played a back four. The second half versus Newcastle, we played a back five. It doesn't take a genius to tell you that even with a very depleted squad, we were 10 times better in the first half versus Newcastle than we were in the second half. We look better in a back four. We look better in a back four. And Ruben Amorim has finally come out and said, yes, it's time that I adapt to the strength of my squad. It's taken all these injuries and all these absences for Ruben Amorim to say, you know what, my squad is very thin, I'm going to move to a back four. The squad is very thin, we've moved to a back four, but we've played better football in a back four with a thin squad than in a back five with a fully complete squad. Us fans have been calling for this for 6-7 months. I applaud Ruben Amorim for realising that he's got to adapt to his players' strengths because we're light at the moment. I applaud Ruben Amorim for adapting the last few games. I applaud him for that. I applaud him for admitting he needs to adapt and actually trying to play to his squad's strengths. But the fans that want you out is because of that. And it's taken you a year to realise what most fans realised 7-8 months ago. You could have done this in Europa League final, and I think we would have won. I genuinely believe we would have won the Europa League final if we played back four. I think we're a better team than Tottenham, and that is down to Postecoglou. I genuinely believe we would have, if we rocked up to the Europa League final in a back four, I genuinely believe we would have won. I think he gets the best out of us, and people will call me crazy, but we are first half versus Bournemouth, back four. First half versus Newcastle, back four. As soon as we change to back five versus Bournemouth, we concede 2, then we go to back four, we score 2. As soon as we got to back five versus Newcastle, the second half we might have got through, but it was bad. And I'm glad that Ruben Amorim is adjusting, and I'm glad that he's adapting to the strength of the squad. But it should have happened ages ago. And why is he waiting till all these players are out to change? Because I'm thinking, if we're going to a back four, then I want Mbumo playing. I want Mazraoui right back over Delo. I want Mbumo right wing. Ahmad left wing. Cunha in the middle. You know, Luke Shaw left back. Aiden Heaven Leach centre back is cool. You now wait until Maino's injured. For me, I look at it and I go, Casemiro, Maino, Bruno, midfield three. Cunha in the middle, Ahmad on the left, Mbumo on the right, Mazraoui and Shaw as the fullbacks, Leacher and Heaven as the centre backs, Lamont in goal. I think that's pretty decent. The thing is, once Bruno and Mbumo, Ahmad and Mazraoui come back, he might go with a back five. And I just think, well, Mazraoui's better in a back four. Ahmad will be better at right wing than wing back. And Mbumo can play right wing, centre forward, wherever. Bruno's better than midfield three. The only thing that annoys me is he's changed the system the last few games, and it's very clear we're better in a back four. It doesn't take a genius to say that. And I'm happy Amron's done that. But one, you're a Premier League manager. I can't believe it's taken you this long to realise what I've been saying for months, what everyone's been saying for months. But second of all, I just think the players that are missing would be better in this 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-2-4 formation. The players that we're missing are better in... So it's like, I don't want the players to all come back and him go back to this crappy 5-2-2-1 or whatever he plays. Do you know what I mean? I want when the players come back, yeah, I still want to see him try what he's been doing. Because that first half versus Bournemouth was the best football we've played all season. That first half versus Newcastle, considering the players that were missing, was good. So I look at it and I say, midfield three, go and get another midfielder in January, whether that's Ruben Neves, whether that's Carlos Baleba. But I think we look better when midfield three. We look better with four at the back. And Ruben was not signed to play four at the back. Ruben was not signed to play four at the back, people are saying. But we play better at four at the back. This is the thing. We don't have all the players to play Ruben's system. Because Ruben Amorim has lost more games than he has won. His system has lost more games than it's won, and we are Manchester United. Would you rather Ruben Amorim blindly stick to his system, even though it doesn't get the best out of our players, and he doesn't have the players to play his system? Or would you rather him adapt to a back four, have a more attacking approach, and we look better? I would rather the second. We do look better in a back four. We still concede goals. Thank you very much, Gregory, for joining the members club. Big up to you. But we look better in a back four. When results are falling apart, you have to adapt. Every gaff has to adapt. And people are saying Ruben Amorim shouldn't have to change. Ruben Amorim, if he changes, that's the beginning of the end. But Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp both had bad patches. What did they do? They changed formation, they adapted system. There's this weird belief in the fan base that Ruben Amorim has to play his system every game and he can't adapt to the squad because he's letting the squad win and it's going to set us back because Ten Hag adapted to the squad and then when Ten Hag tried to do what he wanted to do, it didn't work. No. Elite managers adapt. Pep Guardiola won 1 out of 14 games this time last year. Manchester City got 1 win in 14 games this time last year. Do you remember that? And do you remember when City got 1 win in 14 games? What did Pep Guardiola do? Yes, he had a big January transfer window, but before January transfer window, they got 3 or 4 wins over the line. What did Pep do? He changed formation, he changed system, and Manchester City went from 10th to 3rd. Manchester City this time last year, nobody thought they were going to get UCL football. They were so bad, they won 1 in 14 games. And Pep changed formation, Pep changed system. He had a bit of a January boost with Marmoush and people coming in, don't get me wrong, but Marmoush was the only January signing he actually used because he barely played Nico Gonzalez last year. Yeah, people talk about, but Pep changed formation and system because he won 1 in 14 games. Jurgen Klopp's second last season, Liverpool were looking poor. They weren't looking great, and there was a feeling Liverpool might not get Champions League football. Jurgen Klopp then adapted his system in his second last season at Liverpool, and Trent went from playing as more of an overlapping fullback to inverting a midfield because Liverpool's midfield was weak and injured, so they would overload the midfield and they'd have an extra body in midfield. Liverpool getting done in midfield, Trent started to invert to midfield to have an extra body, and Liverpool went on a run where they won loads of games in a row, and they got top 4. So Ruben Amorim adapting is a good thing. People are saying he shouldn't have to adapt. We played 4 at the back for the last 10 years and we've not won anything. Cool. You can say that all you want. But Jurgen Klopp adapted his system. Pep Guardiola adapted his system. And they're a lot better managers than Ruben Amorim. People will say we were crap at a 4 at the back. Yes, we were crap at a 4 at the back. But the worst we ever finished in a 4 at the back formation was 8th. The worst we ever finished playing 4 at the back was 8th. We go to a 5 at the back and we go 15th. Yes, we weren't good enough in a 4 at the back formation, and I'm not saying go to the 4 at the back solves it, but people keep saying we've been crap in a 4 at the back for 10 years, you know, blah, 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 but we were 8th place crap. There's a difference between 8th and 15th. If 4 at the back is 8th place crap and 5 at the back is 15th place crap, I'd rather be 8th place crap. Do you know what I mean? I look at Jurgen Klopp, how he adapted his system to invert players into midfield and overload midfield, and Liverpool went from looking like they were going to finish 9th to finishing 4th. I look at Pep Guardiola last season, how he adjusted his system. And Pep's adjusted his system again this season to get the best out of Turkey, and Man City could win the league. People think that it's a bad thing that Ruben Amorim's now thinking of playing a back 4 and that Ineos are telling Ruben Amorim to play a back 4. No, it's a good thing. All the best managers adapt. All the best managers adapt. You know, maybe if he gets 6 unbelievable signings in the summer, he can go back to his 5 at the back formation and it could work and it could be amazing like it was in the Portuguese league. But the Portuguese league is nowhere near the level of the Premier League. Something that works in the Portuguese league might not work in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? But we can all see it with our eyes. The back 3 system is static and slow. And yes, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola have had many windows, players and times. But Pep Guardiola has won loads of Premier Leagues. But Pep Guardiola's played about 5 different systems. Jurgen Klopp played about 3 different systems. They didn't just do one thing the whole 7, 8, 9 years. They didn't just do one thing. That's what I'm saying. He wanted to do time and time again to get Liverpool. So Ruben Amorim being able to notice that this isn't working, adapt to the player strengths, and maybe get us 5th this season is a lot better than Ruben Amorim sticking with his system and coming 12th. Because if you've got 2 options. Ruben Amorim moves to a back 4, adapts to his player strengths, and we finish 4th this season. Or Ruben Amorim sticks with his back 5, sticks with his principles, and we finish 10th. Do you want to finish 10th place with a back 5 or 4th place with a back 4? I would sit and say if Ruben Amorim can adapt, play a back 4, get us to Champions League football, then I will change my stance on Amorim. It's annoying that it took this long to realise it, but the best managers adapt. Some people think it's not a good thing that he's looking at a back 4. Some people think it's not a good thing that he's looking to adapt. They're saying he's letting the players win. No, a good manager knows how to get the best out of their players. An elite manager will know how to get the best out of their players. You know, Dorgu played better in a back 4. Heaven did really well. Dorgu looks better in a back 4. Dalot looks better in a back 4. Masraoui's better in a back 4. Maino's better in a midfield 3. Bruno's better in a midfield 3. Casemiro's better in a midfield 3. You know. Who benefits from the back 5? Who benefits from that back 5? Who in our team is better in a back 5 than a back 4? You can say, well, Ahmad's the better right wing back than right back, but Ahmad will just go right wing or left wing. Like who? That's what I mean. So yeah, if we stick with 3-4-3, we will not finish 10th. We could. I'm not saying we will finish 10th. I'm just saying, would you rather him stick with his system and finish 10th or adapt his system to a back 4 and finish 4th? Because some people are saying it's a bad thing that he sticks with, that it'd be a bad thing if he changed the system. I think it would be a good thing if he changes the system and we get 4th. He could change the system and we could get 15th, and that would be awful. But what I'm trying to say is that. But yeah. We don't look as stretched when we play the back 4 system. Looks more stable, yeah. Look, we've not seen a big sample size of the back 4. But we played it in the first half versus Bournemouth, and that was the best half of football we've seen all season. We went to a back 5 in the second half versus Bournemouth, collapsed, brought Maino on, went back to a back 4, scored 2 goals. We looked a lot better. First half versus Newcastle was 10 times better than the second half. That's the only sample size of a back 4 under Ruben Amorim, but it gives you something. Eddie Howe didn't know what to do in the first 10 minutes. He got Ramsdale to fake an injury because he couldn't deal with our back 4. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, people. That is my thoughts on the club, on Man United, on the news. But look, I think there's an opportunity to get Champions League football, and I think the January window could get interesting. We've got 65 million that we couldn't get Semenyo with. That Man United are looking at changing formation. Another midfielder would be needed. I think the January window could get very interesting, particularly with Baleba wanting the move. We won't get Elliot Anderson in January, maybe this summer, but I think it could get interesting. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.